Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Critical Sustainability Literacies and Civic University workshop. It's really nice to have you all here on this rather rainy day. My name is Jenny Dupree. I'm the Senior Manager Programs for the Chair for Critical Studies in Higher Education Transformation, which is one of the partners on this GCSSRP NRF-funded grant that we have for a Critical Sustainability Literacies project. And this is a multi-university project, and it's also a project that is managed by Crichet in collaboration with the Engagement Office under Bruce Darmans. Basically the idea of this project is to start thinking critically about sustainability, because we're seeing an increase in ecological and other crises across the globe. And it's becoming apparent that the sustainability discourse and practice that is mainstream is not really effective, and that doesn't really take into account. Okay. Am I still echoing? It's very unnerving to hear your own voice behind. So yes, we're basically here with this project and here today to try to think differently about sustainability in a way that's more socially just, that's more holistic, and that takes into account the ways in which.
Am I better yet? Okay. I've completely lost my train of thought now. Basically, we're here to think alternatively about sustainability in ways that hopefully take into account the dominant power relations and can disrupt that in some productive way. My job is really just to say welcome to everyone. So firstly, welcome to everyone here in the room, as well as those who've managed to join us online. I don't know why I look here when I'm trying to talk to online people when they see me there. But anyway, I'd also like to welcome all those who've traveled in from other places in South Africa. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and join us here at Nelson Mandela University. I do want to note thanks to the funders, the National Research Foundation, and then to the various collaborators on this project. We have the Hope Revolution, we have Vaal University of Technology, George is here from there. We have the University of the Western Cape, Northwest University, Stellenbosch University, University of Limerick, and MUT. I just want to welcome everyone from those institutions who managed to come through. I want to welcome the Crichet, EO, Hubs of Convergence, and other faculty colleagues who've come through, people who've come in from any of the community partners. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoy the session. I hope it's going to be a rich discussion. I hope everyone has a program and some water. Just to note that we are going to be quite informal in this space, so we're not going to do long introductions or stand too much on formalities and titles. So I hope everyone is comfortable with that. We're here to talk about substantive issues and not necessarily worry too much about the academic formalities. And I hope there's enough chairs for everyone. Unfortunately, we kind of ran out of tables. So but if anyone has any issues or needs a plug point or anything like that, please just find me or one of my colleagues, and I'm sure we'll manage to make a plan somehow or other. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoy the day. I'm going to hand over to Riza to facilitate the first session. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. I'm not going to be talking very long. I would just like to introduce you to our three speakers for the first session. So this first session is broken into two. So the first is discussing Mandela University as a civic university, and then, the first is service to society. We've got two speakers there. It is not using titles is hard for me. It is Fiona Goliath and Jacobus Numdu. And then the second part will be transformative engagement, and our speaker is Monga Peter. So just a note to everybody, if you have a question or a point of discussion, please hold it to the end of the session. We do have 30 minutes allotted for engagement and discussion, and then indicate if your question or point of discussion is to a particular speaker or the panel at large. We will also be taking questions from the online attendees. So before we start, I just want to ask you to consider engagement in accordance with Vision 2030 and ISEF to be the aspirational permeability or porosity of the university walls, or the breaking down of those fences. I want us to think of engagement as convergence. That is, we view engagement as the equalizing or coming together of the university and communities. I think that's an important point to keep in mind with our first three speakers. With all that being said, can I ask the three first speakers to come up, please? Okay, so our first two speakers, Fiona Goliath and Jacobus Numdu, will be presenting together.
Good morning, everybody. Morning. So I have the privilege to present with a great African scholar here to my left, and we have the opportunity to share with you what we deem as a civic university in service of society. So in true resonance with that, we need to know, when we're converging, we need to know who's in the room, right? So we're going to give some of our presentation time to acknowledge you as a full being and allow you then to introduce yourself. So if you give your name and where you're from. Can we start with you, Jiva?
Hi, good morning, all of you. I'm Jiva Munsami from Community Engagement, Central University of Technology, Bloemfontein.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Karen Venter from the University of the Free State, Directorate of Community Engagement.
Hello, everybody. My name is Enver Mutala. I'm from the Center for Integrated Post-School Education and Training at this university.
Molweni, I'm Mr. Zongazila Class from the HOC.
Morning, everyone. I am Pesta Pindani from the Office of the DVC ETP.
Okay, you've already heard my introduction. So I'm just going to take this moment to make a public service announcement, just to say if anyone's on Zoom in this session now, if you can just make sure that you are muted and that your computer is completely muted. Otherwise, we get the feedback. Thank you.
Hi, morning, everyone. I'm George Mvalo from the Valley University of Technology.
Morning, everyone. I am Lehlohonolo Molahlehi from the Engagement Office, Student House of Convergence.
Morning, everyone. My name is Carl Lishilo. I'm from the Engagement Office at NMU. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Inam Ramza. I'm from Kucha under Corporate Social Investment.
Morning, colleagues. My name is Sylvia Graham. I am with Kucha Development Corporation as the CSI Manager.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fortunate Jwaha, and I'm with Krishet.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonathan Joseph. I am from the Khamtower House, or known as the Khoi people.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Angus Brainers. I'm a headman in the Khamtower House, based in the Koga area. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Derek Joseph. I'm also from the Khamtowers. Thank you.
My apologies. I'm allergic to microphones. My name is Matilda Smith, and I'm from the Nelson Mandela University Law Clinic.
Morning, folks. Kanye Manzini, Missionville Campus, Community Liaison. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Morning, everyone. My name is Gershel Brooks. I'm
I'm here to assist with resource mobilization. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jackie Nomdu. I'm from the Hope Revolution Vision. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Speaking is Ayabulela Binase, and I'm from the Botany Department at South Campus.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bruce Darmans, the husband of Henrietta Darmans.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Durant, and I'm part of the Engagement Office.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wensley Jackson, and I'm from the HOC Engagement Office.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Lynn Darmans, Bruce's sister, his older sister, and I'm from the Department of Educational Psychology at the University of Stellenbosch.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Oyama Soka from Hubs of Convergence.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Andisala Ndingwa from the HOC.
Not finally, ne? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Muthwa from Pro Bono and Human Rights Practice at the Constitutional Court.
I'm so glad we were not forgotten. Good morning, everybody. My name is Osaboyan Clifford Warrior. I'm from the Engagement Office.
Morning, guys. My name Peter, my surname. I'm from that family of Engagement Office. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Asipe. I'm from Engagement Office.
Who's everyone? No?
Morning, everyone. I'm also Asipe, but from Botany Department.
Morning, everyone. I'm Asim Belase, and I'm from Crichet.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Vimbiso Okafo, and I'm Crichet Administrator.
Sorry, I'm going to insist, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is MZ. I am the media production manager for the... Yeah, okay.
Did we get everybody? Yeah. Our photographer.
Good morning, everyone. I am Ziad Mohammed. I'm with MZ.
Operate when I talk, and then I operate when you talk, because you can see on the screen. Yeah. Colleagues, on the online platform, if you wouldn't mind putting your name and where you're from as well. And you can see now I'm going to have some challenge operating multiple things here, right? But we've tried to demonstrate to you what the Civic University is, that everybody in the room matters. All voices are important. Your presence here means that we are seen, right? And we appreciate you for being here. Right, so we are talking about the Civic University, and I need to start my timer. Okay. Right, and I am going to, in the name of Steve Biko, our South African father of decolonial knowledge, today speak like I want, right? He said you were right like you like, you were right like he likes, and I will speak like I want. Okay, so in the picture there that you see, for us, that is what a civic university looks like. In that picture, you see a white man that lived on the street. You see a pastor, you see a student, you see several directors, and you see the layout of that room there as well. Community at the front, center, left and right. And that quote I got from Eileen Hoffler on our Limerick course. So thank you for that. And we are trying through our, not trying, we will through our presentation demonstrate to you what critical sustainable literacies look like, but in particular what the Civic University for us look like. So on the dawn or on the event of the inauguration, our VC said that she asked the question, what is a university for? And that has now grown to what is a university good for? And we are positioning that a university a tree doesn't eat its own fruit. A tree produces fruit for the benefit of others to feast on it. And that tree, having that fruit, produces more seed, which means we multiply the fruit. And that's a metaphor that I want to use for us. I'm going to quote the scholar next to me, Pastor Nomdu, quite frequently, and you're going to see very few academic scholars being quoted there. So the first quote I want to list for you there is that Pastor Nomdu says that finding each other is a miracle. On the next slide, Pastor. Finding each other is a miracle. Working together is progress. And walking together is our success. And on the picture there, you see Pastor Nomdu with our VC. This was at the Inside Out Engagement Festival. And you see two young ladies, Zinzi, immediately next to our VC, and right next to her, you see Desmaine. And then you see there before pictures on the side there. And if that transformation does not bring joy in your heart, then your heart will need to be pumped, right? To be alive. So as a university, we were very privileged to meet up with a gem of the Hope Revolution Vision, which is a faith-based organization. And our rebel at the institution, Dr. Bruce Diamonds, dared to bring a faith-based organization into the university. Dared to. And ever since, we've had the audacity to travel long distances, and we've had the privilege to travel long distances with this amazing organization and the founder, Rev Nomdu, that's to my left here. And as a university, we look for credibility, right? We look for sustainability. So here sits a person that has led an organization of Teen Challenge, an African continent leader, for 25 years, with the experience that addiction, gangsterism, all those social evils can be addressed and overcome if we take hands together. And Pastor says, firstly, a communal problem brought us together. We've decided that we won't allow our denominational beliefs, structures, boundaries, or ideologies, and or philosophies, and even differences keep us bondage, and are so blind that we won't be able to see the need to attend to this communal problem we face. So the fact that someone else's child is living on the street should keep us awake at night. That's in essence what this organization says and what they live for, and that is so visible. And as an organization, an educational organization, we came alongside them and we said, our visions are meeting up because we want to be an agent for social transformation. You've done it, you've shown the way, please show us. Let us work together because we believe we've got something to add to that as well. And so we wanted to work collaboratively to create solutions with local communities that will ensure that everyone is included in the process, like all of you today are included and are part of the voices sitting here. Right, so I told you it's a faith-based organization we're partnering with, right? So on the next slide, Pastor, we built this collaboration on kingdom foundation, on a kingdom foundation. And that is what characterizes our walk together. We now passed the working together phase, right? Now we're walking together. And you can see the convergence of our values there. So in our blue, that's the Mandela University values: respect for diversity, integrity, environmental stewardship, excellence, Ubuntu, social justice, and equality. Listen to the Hope Revolution values. Humility, honor, respect, generosity, compassion. Which one speak to your heart? If you listen to it, which one speak to your heart? Isn't it? And you hear a lot of head knowledge in our values, don't you? So the preposition is that the root of education is not only knowledge that is acquired, it is values that is imparted. That's Pastor Nomdo's quote. Sorry, I didn't reference you there. And if we bring that together, we have impact rather than being impressive. Having impressive publications, impressive outputs, impressive throughputs that gives us promotion and titles, which means it's the individual that's elevated. And whoever we build our knowledge on is trampled upon. That's impression. Impact means everybody benefits, everybody is lifted, the fruit is harvested. So education is then converted from an asset to investment. And that education becomes transformative instead of only informative. Pastor says the root can be bitter, right? Education is a way to change the world. We know it's bitter, it's hard work, but the fruit is sweet. And like I said, the tree does not feed itself, right? It doesn't feast on itself. It reproduces. So I'm going to give you over to Pastor now.
Well, a very good morning, everybody. It is good to be in this room with so many of you, and I'm humbled and honored to stand before you today to also add my little few words to what my colleague, my learned friend, Prof. Goliath said. And I would like to immediately go over to the next slide. It is working in harmony to add value to community. How do we work in harmony to add the value to community? The way in which we look at it, it is simply bringing the head and the heart together. The university as an analytical thinker, the head, to bring that together with the heart, the community, where we see so much pain, suffering, marginalized people. Bringing those together, I would use a metaphor of a marriage relationship, a husband and wife. Normally, we would regard the husband as the head, the thinker, the power, the powerhouse. The woman is the heart person, the influence. If we look at this picture and we see the head and the heart, when those two comes together, it will produce the fruit that it desires. Because the head will always tell you what is right, but the heart will tell you what is honest. So sometimes we move on that which is right, and it's good, but the honesty would wake us up at night and would tell us, but you've made a wrong decision. Now, as a collaboration, we can now decide, right? If you're married like myself, we can now decide whether I will only operate in my line as a power-carrying individual or institution. And as an individual, I can be smart, and I can produce smart goals. I can produce smart outputs. As an individual, I can do great things. But when we bring the two together, we become brilliant. So we can choose to be smart and have limitations, or we bring together and we become brilliant. But in the context of a marriage relationship, when the husband is the power and the woman is the influence, we have the opportunity to become a powerful influence or an influential power. Now, there's a vast difference being powerful by yourself or being a powerful influence. For the Hope Revolution, we choose to really work in this collaboration because we realize being together will make us stronger, but it will also make us better. It will not make us better for ourselves. It will make us better for the people whom we serve. Because we are occupying a seat. It could be a seat of power or a seat of influence. Our seats that we occupy, it is not a seat to elevate me, my personal ambitions only, but it is to uplift another man. It is to bring joy to somebody else's life, somebody else's family, and somebody else's community. So, colleagues, I believe that bringing the hands, the heart, and the head together, that will present to us an opportunity to be brilliant. Not individual smartness, but a collective brilliance. Our community needs something that they could look at and say, this is what I want to follow, and this is what I want to pursue. If I go to the next slide, it is this convergence that now once again, going back to the context of a marriage relationship, it is this that will help us to understand. Each one brings something to the table. We have our input. We add to this. When we bring something to the table, we put it in this basket. When we put it in this basket, it means it's no longer mine. It now becomes ours. It makes a whole lot of difference because now it becomes a shared value. It becomes a shared objectives. We add our minds, we add our hearts together because we have an expectation to meet goals and objectives. Goals and objectives is good, but when we come together, colleagues, when we bring ourselves together, we can make a choice. We can decide, I want to be a member of this collaboration. Members will do as they please, come and go as they want. Or we can decide to be a partner, because partners meet goals and objectives. It is we're creating a tick box. And when we tick the boxes, we are okay, because the boxes has been completed. But when we move to find a way to produce an outcomes requires of us to have a different mindset, a mindset of an owner, because owners goes beyond the call of duty. The outcomes that we have seen in this collaboration, we saw the outcomes in the human forms, like you saw the Zinzis, you saw the Desmains, we see today here amongst us the Wensleys, we see the Hustles and the Keenans that this collaboration has produced. It means those becomes fruit that will remain. People that we can look at and say, man, I've been part of this. So colleagues, as an institution, we believe coming to this table, being part of this collaboration, we can't just have a tick box exercise. We have to have a mindset of becoming an owner and go beyond the call of duty. Amen? Yes. Amen. I want to say the way the late Steve Biko said it. Amen? Okay. You know I'm a preacher, right? That's my first one. So the engagement, this picture was taken at one of the schools. This picture was taken at one of the schools. And for some reason, the photographer took this picture. But what we're trying to teach, there's actually 4 exercises in this game that we try to teach our children from a very young age. If we want to see transformation, It will have to start at a place where we make conscious decisions, and for the younger children, it must become something that they can develop within their emotions and live with that. And when they grow old, I know I'm in an academic institution, but the text would tell me when they grow old, they will not depart from these things. And so this exercise in this game that I did with this boy, just as we pass by, it was not intentional, it was not for that purpose. But there's 4 exercises. The one is a hand up. The hand up is saying to you, I'm giving you a big 5. A hand up to us is we give somebody a hand today so they can stand tomorrow by themselves. The second exercise is a handout. Handouts enslave people. And we're saying to the person on the other side, handout is what you should refuse at all cost. And then when I give you a handout like this boy did here, is to clap my hand down, because that is not where we want to live. We don't want to live in a society, in a community where we want to survive on handouts, but we want to become a community and society that thrives by standing on somebody's shoulders. And then the hand that is standing upright, we're giving this hand, and this is a hand of respect, a hand of honor. When I give somebody my hand, it means I say, I respect you, I honor you. Teach them that this is a hand of respect. But then we turn the hand sideways. This is a hand of protection. It means when you put your hand next to my hand, when I can't see the enemy coming towards me, you become my protection. It means there's covenant. We go back to our original, and I said it actually in my notes in Afrikaans. That is how I would have said it the best. Ons almal het 'n vandaan. Waar vandaan ons kom. My vandaan is die een. You don't only have my back, but you have my heart. I'm there to protect you. I'm there to cover you. Build that community, that Ubuntu, to make sure that in this village, all of our children becomes all of our children. Prof. Goliath.
So you operate. So you can see we still have a long way to go, right? Because Pastor's still apologizing for being in an academic institution and biting his tongue when he wants to say amen. So the next few slides, we're going to flip through them because we want to give you the learnings we've had and the recommendations. So I'm going to, in the academic term, show you, because we want to measure outcomes, right? And then we'll go to the outputs. So since 2022 August, when we formed this collaboration, we've had 38 engagements. Now take into account that those engagements on average are no less than 3 hours at a time. And those engagements with 38 groupings had 1,396 people. Now, and compare that to a lecture of 1 hour and 15 minutes. I'm drawing this out for you so that we can understand the unequal allocation of resources in our institution when it comes to the engagement work. So add to that the total of the pilot site that is in Galvindale, where we've had 28 engagements alone with 96 people. And that brings us to 1,512, which excludes the inside-out engagement where the Hope Revolution was a critical part. And those 2 ladies you saw, Desmaine and Zinzi, now also work for the university. Desmaine carries a dual hat, being in the Hope Revolution primarily, but she's onboarded as research assistants. And that is outcomes that we've been speaking about. The next slide shows us again, we demonstrate the evidence for you. The question is, what did we converge about? With whom and where? And I'm just showing very briefly that our what included our startup phase because we use participatory action research. The startup phase is the planning sessions, the project planning, organizational mapping. You've got all the WOMs there. Our university, Stellenbosch University, we've got CUT. So a lot of the partners are in the room today, which we're so grateful for. And you see the other departments in our own university, the law clinic, agriculture, mechatronics, etc. And then the where are those spaces we've been to, right? So many kilometers have been traveled on road, in flight, etc. There's the launches, the short learning program that was registered. So Pastor had written a short learning program that is now being presented in multiple spaces. The short learning program is about prevention, so substance abuse prevention, which we now call consciousness raising because it goes beyond just imparting knowledge, right? It's that whole imparting of values that comes with it, and we're co-presenting because the university brought its section into it as well. And then we've had the learning and teaching links, which I'll demonstrate to you more clearly on the other slides. So this for us is the evidence, if you want to scrutinize the work of what the Civic University looks like, where have we been working, what have we been doing. That particular slide and the one that follows shows you then we do a deep down drill into the specific sites. So we have the Galvindale pilot site. And in short, I'm just going to lift out some of them for you. We have an existing support group. So we found a support group at the pilot site. That was part of the attraction. And we have a youth chapter of the pilot site that's being established as a result of this collaboration. We've established, and the Classroom of Hope was birthed from the heart of a mother, which you'll meet just now, Auntie Sharon. We will have a Courageous Hope Career Day next year, a partnership with the youth, with the Sunday school, because this pilot site is in a church, right? Then we have our NPO status that will be activated for sustainability and provision of psychosocial services. What I haven't told my director there is that we've had an organization that visited, and we don't believe in coincidence, Badisa. And Badisa will give us a social worker without the NPO status even being validated yet. We will have a Home of Hope that's linked to our community kitchens. Herschel, that you'll meet later on the presentation, presented a pitch for boxing, using boxing as a tool to enhance the well-being of primary school boys. And that was part of the fruit of the collaboration as well, because Pastor introduced us to the Leader to Leader group from the States, and they brought somebody, Jamie, that provided a micro grant. And then we've got a resource map. As we speak, there's a resource map being populated that will be on an app that shows us all the different resources. So I'm just lifting out, I'm biased, right, because I work actively in the pilot site, but you will see all the other sites that's there as well. And then I show you some of the pictures, Pastor. We can go to the spaces of convergence. And again, from the Limerick course that I'm so grateful to be attending, Eileen says that communities are living, breathing organisms, not theme parks that we walk through and take pictures and post and say, I'm doing this, and then you show the handout that you give and then you disappear because now you fed your ego, right? But a Civic University creates modified therapeutic communities. You see that girl there with Amy? In that space, Amy created a safe haven for that child of acceptance. I don't know when last that she rubbed the cheek of a person. Did she have the opportunity to rub cheek to cheek with another person and to be heard and listen to her desire for a bicycle? And you see the different spaces of convergence, right? It's under a tree, it's in a coffee shop, it's on the field, it's in the streets of Easter River. And you see the multiple spaces there. And then we've had the privilege of being in the medical school, and again around that bed are people that have lived on the street and have had no access to medical care. And here they are today examining, I don't know what we call that. I know a cadaver is something else. Then showing the reciprocity. The pastor, as a civic organization, have access to spaces. He dared to step through Stellenbosch University to be an educator in that space, teaching master's students in educational psychology about drug prevention. And we learned about the gang number, right? So we can tell you what happens in the gang number. And that opportunity to step through those spaces brought liberation from credibility that's being questioned. The pastor's had this onslaught on social media by an arrogant academic. And I read that Prof. Muthwa quoted somebody that spoke about the delusion of meritocracy. That you only have merit or voice because you've earned it through an academic title, right? So opening up that space debunked and pushes that under our feet. I don't know who positioned the banners like that. Can you see that our walking together characterizing how the banners are standing? And every single space, because voices matter, Bruce asked this beautiful question. He showed the engagement office video, and that video was critiqued so beautifully that we walked away with ways to improve that video. There was a question about why does people living on the street not feature in your work? A critique that came from somebody that has lived on the street, a white man, that says the homeless should feature in your work. Why is it absent? And that, colleagues, a civic university has enabled us to hear. Being in service of society has put us in those spaces. Moving on to the next slide, and I'm going to go very quickly now. We've had opportunities for our social work students. So the module I teach is a social issues module, and my module has been rewritten. My one section of the module is on substance abuse. So pastor is now left, right, center, back and forth in that module being quoted. And the analogies, so instead of talking about the continuum of care, primary prevention, aftercare, I now have indigenous words to describe that. And my students understand it. They leave richer and more ready to go and work in their communities. We've had the 4th year honors marketing and communication projects that I think has just gone to another level. So Amy, being in the space, said, but why don't these students must produce an output, right? Why don't we get them to work on the Hope Revolution? So to produce a marketing video. And the work they produce, we have a mind full of things to implement next year in the student chapter at the university. And the one thing they came up with, the one group came up with, is to choose your cap, your bottle cap that delays your graduation, or choose your graduation cap, as one example. And then we've had the 3rd year students doing their work, integrated learning in the project. Pastor can move. Yeah, so there's multiple things we're showing you. You can move, Pastor. The next one is my favorite, where we have Keenan that brought an art exercise into our collaboration at Stellenbosch University that got every person to use a canvas and draw a hand, and he explained what this canvas is supposed to do. But I think it became a lot more than what he imagined it could do, which is then such a beautiful outcome. And that outcome, Zinzi, who was in that space, said, why don't we gift this to the women that's in the treatment center? Exactly 16 people offered their canvases, and we had exactly 16 people in the facility. So you tell me that we don't have kingdom values happening there. The last one I'm going to show, and then we're going to go to the conclusion, is Auntie Sharon, that audacious hope. So on the 6th of September, Auntie Sharon was born in Helenville, and you see how tiny she is. And we invited her. Wensley caused trouble by inviting Auntie Sharon from the pilot site. And I said, how did you choose from all the committee members? He said, I decided it will be Auntie Sharon. So I decided it must be the spirit that had shown him. And Auntie Sharon, at the end of her part of reflection, because reflexivity is a critical part of our work, she writes, a special thank you to Nelson Mandela University and the Hope Revolution who allowed me into their space. The past week with the team was a profound experience. I experienced a flood of emotions and felt overwhelmed at times. I learned how important patience is and what it means to work in a team that everyone, regardless of which sphere of life we come from, can contribute, and that we can serve with our own shortcomings, anxiety, challenges, but more than ever have hope. 6 September 2024. On the 13th of September, when we return from Cape Town, Auntie Sharon is a co-facilitator in the very community she grew up in, working next to Bruce Diamonds, facilitating in a youth leadership program. On the 10th of October, Auntie Sharon had dared to put her heart on the table to say, can't we start a classroom of hope in the school adjacent to where the pilot site is? And she stands up by herself and presents this proposal, a fully written out proposal for the Classroom of Hope. That is multiple forms of output. Pastor, we're going to go to the conclusion. Is Risi stopping us? Yeah. Oh, sorry, so I'm supposed to do the conclusion. We're going to skip right through. So we've got, there's Lechlenolo, our other evidence sitting there, and the show. You see, Wensley, that wasn't allowed into an academic program at this university, even though we met the criteria, came through the back door of a vehicle there as, as a national coordinator of this project that now has international reach. And the skills he has acquired and knowledge far supersedes what he would have acquired. And he got he's busy with his honors with another university, so that was our loss. But he's gained in so many ways. Auntie Sharon shared a room with the director of the YMCA when we were in Stellenbosch. On the road back, she said, we have books that your reading class can use at the pilot site. You see, bringing people together, what happens? That's Pastor and myself. The first time we had a minister of religion present at the social work conference and an international platform. Colleagues, so the learnings for us is engagement has to be values-driven. It has to be collaborative. I'm not going to read all of that for you because I want Pastor to do the recommendations. I think the critical thing is that it's not an event. We're not busy with showcasing. This is real work. It's heart's work based on sound kingdom principles.
Well, as we look at the recommendations, we realize that it will take a dynamic team that will actually accomplish this goal. And I just wanted to say this. I'm going to run through all of these recommendations that we believe it will help us to accelerate this process. We have to convert our values and we need to articulate kingdom principles for humanity. Let us not do this for Wensley. That's fine. Yeah, I will go through it. But as we go through, we see that, you know, in all the things that we have accomplished over the last 2 years, we can do so much more. But in this space, I would like to say the following. We can either earn a PhD or we find the people out in society that has the epitome of a PhD. PhD can be earned, but a PhD can be acquired through lived experiences. We have found those in the Anti-Sharons. And a PhD in our society are those progressive hope dealers. And those progressive hope dealers in community would change the narrative of society, because our communities are filled with powerful dope dealers that denies our children opportunity to come to institutions of higher learning. And we need those PhD whom I called the social scientist, those who learn through their painful experiences. If we bring those together, we find our success. We find these people would write their own framework of how to put up a classroom of hope, a house of hope, how to put services in reach of people. Because, and you know my field is substance abuse for the last 26 years. If we were to put those who use substances and we call them a country or a nation, it would be the 4th largest country in the world after India, China, and the United States of America. It means this task is huge. It's taking away the best that we have. It's taking away the most valuable asset of our society. It's our children and our youth. The seeds that we occupy, colleagues, those seeds must be used to change the status quo of our communities. We cannot turn the other side. We have to become an institution that has the heart of the people on our hearts. And as the Hope Revolution, we say we are committed to see that these destructive, vicious attacks of the PDDs, I don't know whether there's such a qualification, to see that those PDDs are being destroyed and demolished through this powerful engagement and collaboration. I'm closing. As individuals, we can be smart. Together, we can be brilliant. Let us be brilliant for the sake of our children and our youth. Thank you.
Could you maybe just stay until discussion? Thank you very much, colleagues. I'm just going to stand in front here. So I ask the colleagues to just remain seated for the discussion portion after, but can I please call Monga Peter to come and discuss. Colleagues, I'll remind you, kindly just hold your discussion points and questions. We will get to them at the end.
Thank you very much, Riz, and thank you very much, colleagues. Fortunate was requesting for my presentation. I'm not a slideshow person. Certainly, colleagues, you'll get the presentation as part of the package. I will discuss the framed inputs around 4 issues. If not, yes, 4 issues. Naturally, to get a booster, I always like to preface whatever presentation I am to deliver. And I'll certainly discuss the potential gaps and impediments to transformative engagement. Then pretty much of my submission will be, when is engagement transformative? Then I will sit down after that. In my pedestrian input, I will attempt to locate really the discussion in a particular context of redress and affirmation. Understanding that the source of our who's, as it were, is the whole issue of exclusion. I will also want to locate this subject also within the context of community's perception of a university in service of the same community. And in doing so, we would want to discuss the subject of transformative engagement, naturally by probing the following. One, what is transformative engagement? And when is engagement transformative? Why transformative engagement? What are the beneficiaries to transformation engagement in the context of this Civic University of Nelson Mandela? The significance of transformative engagement, especially understanding that transformation engagement has to be understood as a redress mechanism to exclusion. These probing questions, colleagues, are raised mainly to bring sense of why transformative engagement is no longer a subject of choice, but of necessity. And it is for this reason that, among other, the institution is expected to constantly review its engagement practices. I'm referring to Nelson Mandela. Let me discuss now the potential gaps and the impediments to transformative engagement. As a process of redress and affirmation, engagement tends to tamper with the status quo. Hence, the process needs to be recognized and acknowledge gaps which can serve as potential to distort, derail, and shortchange transformation engagement. And I want to flag the following. If the engagement is used as just to tick the box and boost the egos of the bureaucracy, it's no longer an engagement. Failure to institutionalize engagement and recognize transformation as an anchor feature of engagement, that has a potential to derail engagement. Second-guessing engagement, it being a matter of necessity and regard the same as a line portfolio. No, this engagement is something to do with Professor Kidd and Bruce and them. It doesn't live in the system of and the organizational culture of the university. Confusing participating and taking part as engagement is another issue. Naturally, if there are no tools of immeasurability and impact, that is a problem. And of course, the misnomer around regarding engagement as something to do with politicians. No, we're immune on engagement. It's something to do with politicians. It doesn't apply to us. That is an impediment to engagement. Let me now discuss the when is engagement transformative. It will be noted that the institution has adopted a posture of recognizing that engagement has to be seen beyond transactional interaction, has to be seen to ensure mutually transformative relation, and do so as part of the community. That's Mandela. And I want to submit, though, that in doing so, the university must recognize and observe the following. The university being a macrocosm of community and it being an asset of the community must ensure that it contributes in the process of resolving societal needs and do so intentionally and do so purposefully, and do so deliberately. In that, our not getting involved presents an opportunity for the university to receive unwarranted backlash. Iyavakala maqabane? Naturally, the transformative engagement has to be institutionalized, not treated as a portfolio in the periphery, and it has to be transversal, such that it lives in the organizational culture, and it should pervade in all its people, structures, systems, and policies. So that Kanye, we then able to deal with those traces of despondency that you see in one section of the Missionville campus communities, who feel that they are excluded. So long as you have those traces, it means you still have to do work in engaging those communities. So that you deal with those traces of the team I was with at Conrad offices, came to be exposed of the bureaucracy that it takes to prepare an MOU in Nelson Mandela. That is a problem. There shouldn't be those ill feelings. People feel despondent. Yet you have embraced, supposedly, a transformative engagement. Of course, it should yield change for transformation engagement in this context. Or for transformation engagement in this context is not a normalization process. Hence, it must be able to embrace, or it was able to embrace what it did not. We have testimonies here in the form of the Khoi-San community, which has been embraced through the process of engagement. We have testimonies of ZDF, we have testimonies of Umpanda, who through engagement processes have finally declared the soon to be implemented short learning course around autism. It is through engagement that we have that change, which was not there before. Effectively, in the interface with communities, the institution should recognize and acknowledge the worth and the value add of the community it serves. And that value add must be seen to be feeding to the content delivery and practices of the institution. Must I give you an example? I've already given those examples. Naturally, we take exception when you treat us, Cliff, as communities, as guinea pigs, or experimenting. We take exception. Hence, the call for be intentional, purposeful, and deliberate, so that there's that mutual benefit in the course of engagement. As an asset of community, and through the transformative engagement, we should be able to appreciate promotion of access beyond that which is viewed as enjoyed by the elite. Let me repeat that, you didn't get it. We must appreciate promotion of access beyond that which is viewed as enjoyed by the elite. I must feel accommodated even if I am a leader of NGO, a faith-based organization, or after all, a well-meaning business person. In that, the institution is rather intentional and purposeful in journeying with the communities towards dealing with the threats to growth and development of that community. The crime is the elephant in the room in Nelson Mandela. How far are we as the university in that space, working together with our communities? The triple challenges are at the helm of what characterizes our communities: unemployment, poverty, and inequality. In conclusion, transformation engagement is and must be an evolving and sustainable process to see us to the Vision 2030 and beyond, so as to align with the university's commitment to social justice, and in realizing such true academic core mission, learning and teaching, research, innovation, and engagement. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. We have reached the discussion portion of this session. So I'm going to ask everyone joining us online, if you could please, if you have a question or discussion point, please put it in the chat. Fortunate if you would read that out to us. But yes, colleagues, please keep your point brief, your question brief, directed to either the panel at large or to a particular individual. Do we have roaming mics? Do you have one? Okay, so can we have hands for questions?
Okay, thank you. What a privilege it is to be here today, to be reminded of what it means to be part of moving and growing. You know, Stellenbosch, I don't represent the whole school, the whole university, but we know historically and currently there remain challenges. But I do want to bring into this space, and I love that you celebrated that we brought it into difficult spaces, into the base where apartheid was developed in that building. So we went in there. And I want to also speak today about the Health Professionals Council's transformation efforts to make mental health accessible. And today I want to celebrate and bring to the party, probably be contested, that we have decided to include into our master's program for educational psychology, training educational psychology, the Hope Revolution Vision Project for 2 days, like you did for us, as part of our curriculum, starting in 2025. So we're hoping to send into the world of work a consciousness of what it means when we talk about mental health and wellness in the communities that we serve. So we must never give up of communities and spaces that challenge for transformation. Every bit helps. So I just thought I want to share that, and that is the exact result of you having come to that space and invited us into that space. So we're excited. We'll talk about it in greater detail about it, but we are thrilled to be able to understand what it means for civic engagement and service delivery by including the people with whom we live and work and serve. Thank you.
Wonderful. I just have two questions. The first one is for Fiona, because I think it's come across in the conversation a lot that engagement is sort of an add-on. So for you being in the university, being within a faculty, and doing this kind of work, what does that look like? How do you balance it? Because I'm pretty sure you have a lot of responsibilities within your key performance areas already. Now, to be able to do this sort of meaningful work, which is, is also quite meaningful, as someone in the university, how can we balance it? Because it almost feels like only after I have done everything I have to do, then I can do this added on. So that's my question for you, Prof. Goliath. And then for Monga and Peter, our first reference conversation about the PhDs that are outside the university. It reminds me of a word in Yoruba that Akinshola Akibowo says. It says, everyone has Ifogbon Tiashe, which means we all have sociological imagination. And that cuts across different parts of societies. You can be a musician, you can be a teacher, whatever. We all have the ability to think about our societies. So now this brings me to Monga Peter. You've made a very compelling argument about how engagement needs to move beyond just transactional relations. But you made a statement which I would love a bit more clarity on. You said we should stop confusing participating with taking part. Could you please elaborate on that? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Rev, you mentioned something with the design of the heart and the brain. You say that the university, as I called you, as an analytical thinker, and the community as the heart. The mind will tell you what is right, and the heart will tell you what is honest. Of course, I sit with so much tension with that particular statement. I do understand that you're coming from a genuine point of view, but it's problematic because it presents the university as the custodian of knowledge, right? And with the work you're doing, I think yourself, you are an analytical thinker, because the university has not even touched a bit on the issue of substances. Monga, you mentioned the issue of crime. The university has not done much within the metro, right? And the question then becomes to Fiona, in terms of the university. Of course, I get to sense an impasse in terms of universities not reproducing the conditions of engagement, which then creates some kind of backlog that we know that if Prof. Kiet lives here, or Bruce, or Dr. Ruby, engagement might even end, right? Even within communities, it then becomes that it's just a tick box. We have a drug abuse awareness thing, let's call ZDF. Do you know any NGO? Let's call. So it just becomes at a surface level. What do you think from a university point of view is the backlog? Thank you.
Okay, my mic is on. Thank you so much to the presenters for really sharing on how the importance of us sitting here in this room today. We are sitting here because we want to be here, and we are honored to be part of the transformative aspect of engagement, I guess. But I can't help but sit here and think about Sir Isaac Newton's quote that he said in one of his letters he wrote back in 1675, where he says, if I have seen further than others, it is because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. I speak this as an alumna of the institution, and I think the biggest aspect that we can take from the transformative engagement aspect, because I've worked with the university, with the civil society, I've worked with engagement, I come from CanRed as well last year, so engagement really is the tool or the resource that we can use as an academic institution to actually enforce the change that we want to see in the world, in all our communities. Now, I think the question that we should ask each other is, Are you doing it for the right reasons? What is the purpose behind you actually engaging? Are you doing it because you want to sit in a powerful or an influential position? Are you doing it to network and sit and rub shoulders with the who's who's of society or civil society? Or are you actually doing it because you actually want to see that change that you want to see in your community? Now, I've always been an advocate, rather, for lack of a better word, of being change makers or catalysts within our own community, so that if someone wants to, like your Zinzis and your Wesleys, if they see your Carls, your Matildas walking down the street as someone that comes from the same community that they come from, you can be that catalyst for that person's life, for them to change. And by virtue of you doing that, you've already transformed engagement, by virtue of you just being existing as a human being. So I think if people want to really take upon transformation, it must be a lifestyle and not a tick, like a box that we must tick. Do you understand? It must actually be something that you must live for. And I'm sitting here, obviously, I'm like a prime example of that, taking engagement, taking transformation, and actually being someone who lives the lifestyle and is not just using it to check a box at the end of the day. So thank you so much.
Colleagues, we have 2 more questions at the back, and then we'll give an opportunity for the panel to respond, and then we'll take some more questions afterwards.
So this is just a point of information for Fiona and Pastor. Yesterday, Zinzi was very instrumental in us having quite an important meeting with the district manager of social development. And as she was explaining to me as we left the intervention, she was saying that, so we've met the person that is responsible for registering MPOs. So it's going to be important for furthering the work that you've started already.
You stole the mic. Thank you so much, so very much for, you want me to stand? Oh my word. It just had to be me, right? Thank you so much for your contributions. I've got a lot of questions that are brewing and a lot of lessons that come from the panelists this morning. So I'm sitting with quite a bit of tension, because in our line of work, we often ask people to extend grace to us. We apologize, we ask for grace. So to you, Damonga, Sis Fiona, Pastor, can you just give us a little bit of your thoughts around the issue of remaining patiently impatient? Because I just feel like there's just so much insight that we can gain from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, colleagues. Can we please divert to the panel for a second to answer the first round of questions?
Shall we answer them in any sequence? Can I just fire away? So, Cliff, your question, how do I find the time as an academic? So how do academics find the time? And then I'm going to link it to Carl's question about what is the backlog at this institution, so why engagement is not foregrounded. I think we struggle to find the time because we keep the triple helix separate. We say there's learning and teaching, there's research, and then there's engagement. So we think in these linear ways, and this is what makes it a challenge for us as academics. When we see the seamless integration between the three, we should be able to make the time. In my learning and teaching, Pastor Nomdu's module is present. The engagement is happening there, those students are going out. In the work-integrated learning, those students are seamlessly placed in the spaces where engagement in the hubs of convergences it's brought together. And then the research must also seamlessly come on board now. I don't deny that it takes a lot of time. I've shown you distinguishing 3 hours of an engagement with 1 hour, 15 minutes in a lecture. So naturally, we have to be mindful, that you do need more time and it has to get the recognition. It's not getting the recognition. The backlog is that transformational leadership and transformative leadership in our institution have not yet met each other. We're trying to have transformation. We're speaking, I think we're closer to the transformative leadership, where social justice is at the forefront, right? It's in our values even. Transformational leadership requires us to shake up the organizational structure. So why do we have in schools, in faculties, why do we have a learning and teaching directorate, a research directorate, but we don't have an engagement directorate? So our vision, our policy, and our practice need to find alignment. And then on the question of how do we remain patiently impatient, my colleague stumbled upon this gem of a person that says you have to be like a thorn in the flesh. Like a thorn in the flesh, so that people see you coming and they think, oh, here's that pain arriving. But the way in which you arrive, with that humility, gentleness that challenge you, will bring that turnaround. You see the head heart connecting so that the hands open. We cannot talk niceties. It's the time has come that it really is inexcusable for us to be so silent about things. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Cliff, the taking part and engagement in the context. The reference there is on I can take part on a plan to construct a mall in Summerstrand. Then I will take part in the EIAs leading to that culmination of building a mall, which will not necessarily be beneficial to me because I'm not in that area of Summerstrand anyway. So I have taken part in the realization of that project. Whereas engagement tend to be intimate, tend to be benefiting the specific need, the specific sector, the specific community. Hence, the differentiation in terms of that. Hence, consistently, Pastor here, and all of us, we've been making this point of it having to be looked at as you engage for what? For marrying, ne? You engage, you start by engaging. And later, whereas it is not the case when you participate anyway. I'm trying to simplify it in that way. So that's in relation to your question. Then in terms of crime, I can't belabor the issue. We are all seized with that reality, whether you government, whether you community, whether you the asset, as I like to call the university, of the community, to venture into the resolve of, because remember the crime is as a result, is a consequence of something. That's something that we need to deal with. Because if you're not, as I indicated, that an aloof institution runs a risk of being derailed by the very community it intends to serve anyway. So, do you want to serve or to operate in an environment where there is a toxicity of crime? Do you want to operate in that space? So, running away is not going to help you. Hence, you should find yourself engaging in the resolve to stabilize, the environment you find yourself in. Hence, I'm saying it's not a matter of choice now. It's a matter of necessity. Yeah. Then with the kind of the overarching why engaging, the colleague have already, in the course of remark, comment, answered the question. But I want to conclude it by saying, or rather by reminding us, the whole is of intentional, why engaging? Is that what you were saying? Why engaging? Yeah. In the same way as I was saying, yeah. But I want to come to this pioneer of black consciousness thing. Biko in this case, I think it was you, Prof. Yeah. What is so profound about that philosophy, which others tend to think that it's an organization, but it's a philosophy, basically. It reminds all of us of what comes first as you engage into whatever struggle. Are you liberated first consciously? Hence the point to say, do you want to engage because you want to impress your bosses or tick the box? Or is it in you that I am engaging on this deliberately because it's necessary? I stand to benefit the same way that whoever I'm engaging with stands to benefit. Thank you very much.
Carl, is that correct? The concern of the head and the heart. The way in which we look at it, normally the university are being regarded as a institution where knowledge are being created or transferred. So that knowledge we learn, we say knowledge is that power. So within that context, what we are saying, when, and I latch on to my good friend Monga, when that engagement developed into a marriage relationship, when we come into that relationship, it means that everybody within that relationship becomes now an equal partner. It simply means that when we coming together, we acknowledge in this togetherness all knowledge. We acknowledge the significance of all knowledge. It means the knowledge created in university, but also knowledge being created in society. Some people has knowledge that's been earned here, but others has learned some things through their lived experiences. So it's not uniquely that we say that it's only in university where knowledge are being learned or earned. It's also outside in society. But we just help us to understand when we're coming together, we have a primary and secondary role to play or to fulfill within this relationship. But all knowledge, whether that knowledge being earned through this institution, as we would call it book knowledge, or root knowledge. Root knowledge to us, it is what we have learned through impartation, right? For example, if you, growing up, I've noticed my late grandmother cooked always 3 extra plates of food. My late mother did the same thing. It is not something that they were told, but it is for people that would come alongside, that maybe would not have a plate of food, but they prepared it. It's something that they have learned through the process. And so we're saying simply that coming into this relationship, it is not to build or establish the perfect relationship, but it is to develop the perfect equilibrium. It is this perfect balance that we create, meaning when we create this perfect equilibrium, it will help the relationship to thrive because we create the atmosphere for the relationship to thrive, where we create a space where your opinion is just as important as mine. I'm not just a tick box experience. When I say I don't agree, it means my opinion is just important as your opinion that most probably has an earned PhD than somebody that has a learned PhD through lived experience. So we're saying, if I'm saying, well, you can prevent an overdose through, blowing some smoke over, that my colleague in the medical would say, but you need to go to hospital. But the man in this ecosystem that is using has a methodology that would prevent him to overdose if you do something simple and insignificant, but it saved a life. So we're saying that knowledge is just important as the medical profession's knowledge by waiting for an ambulance and taking somebody to hospital and wait for maybe 30 minutes, and in the 30 minutes, the person will eventually die. But we're using this knowledge that's been created within this ecosystem that doesn't even make sense, but it will save a life. So we're saying that knowledge is just important as your knowledge as a PhD that you've earned through this institution.
Thanks so much, colleagues, for your input. So part of the theme is critical literacies. So my question won't be too nice, because sometimes I get the sense, and my reference is to Reverend and Monga Peter, that we speak a certain way to be accommodated in the university. You are forced to use a certain language for you to be validated in the university. When we ask the sound engineer to introduce himself, he almost feels shy in the space of humanity. What is the university still not doing right in order for you to stand confident in a public institution? This institution serves on the behest of the public. But when we have people like yourselves that have been so engaging with the university now for years, and still you feel the need almost to apologize and rationalize your contribution to knowledge, it brings a red flag. What is it still that we need to do in order for anyone to walk into the space and feel they can make a contribution to any knowledge conversations we're having on any topic? It's to Reverend and Monga in particular.
Let me respond. Can I, Monga? I think that what the university should be doing, it is to understand. Sometimes we learn to respond because we respond out of our own prejudiceedness. The university needs to understand when I'm in this space, I am equal I'm the equal to a Bruce Damons or a Fiona Goliath. You can't invite me into a marriage relationship and have me, only speak the way you want me to speak and impose to me. I think we still have that imposing, that almost a sense of my PhD makes me better than you. That is what we have to deal with. We shouldn't be looking at each other from the basis of the assets that we have, the asset in our degree or our qualification. But we should be measured by the investments that we're producing. And that means we bring equality, that even though you say something that doesn't feel good on your ear, it makes sense to me. For example, if my wife were to tell me take me on a sunset cruise. We know scientifically that is a wrong statement. There is no such thing as a sunset cruise. But for me as a scientist, I know the sun does not set. That is for you as a scientist to understand. But for my wife, sunset cruise is correct for her. I accommodate her because her way of interpreting the movement of the sun, it makes sense to her. So in the space that I have invited her into, I create a space for her to express herself willfully, freely, without a threat of being judged or being told, but you are wrong. That is not how it works. And I want to give her a lesson, a science lesson. That's not what she requires. She needs to be stimulated emotionally in a certain way. And I ought to create that space. When we come into the space, you ought to create that space for us so that we feel welcome. I cannot be in the space and be a passive partner in this collaboration. I need to be active, even with the things that I say wrong or right. My disagreement does not mean that we're not achieving our goals. It is in our disagreement when we learn how to turn our difference points into binding points. It is only when we see a difference and we can turn that around, but not compromise. Because in compromise, there's a winner and a loser. In this collaboration, there shouldn't be a winner or a loser. Everybody should win or everybody lose, because we're in this together.
But I'm not sure whether the attempt is to change what I've already given as the answer to your question. But just to emphasize, I think will be this recognizing once again that the university is an asset of the community. And that being the case, its existence has to be determined by the happenings in that community, vice versa. So that because you have tools and everything as the asset, it then has to bond that those tools must be able to assist that community. The other issue that I want to emphasize, additional to what I've already sponsored, will be in the form of an example. That in whatever year post Prof. Muthwa historical speech in 2018, as quoted also by Prof. and Pastor here, that if it is to be what it was expressed to achieve, has, as I indicated, pervade across systems, across policies. Let me give that example I briefly spoke to, that there are traces of despondency in one section in Missionville area. What did I mean about that? There's a sense that whilst there will be supposedly a deliberate process by engagement office to engage people, communities, sectors, but at the point of beneficiation, impediments in the value chain internally frustrates the whole thing. Whether it's procurement, whether it's supply chain management of the university, and what have you, then it wipe out the whole process started by engagement office. Hence the issue to me that then said it has to pervade. so that it's not reduced into a portfolio. It must live in the system, in the policies and everything that makes the whole. So that's what the university needs to do. Thank you very much.
I know my colleague didn't ask me, but I want to respond, please. My question is, how did we decide where this conference is going to be? And how did we decide who would be invited? And how long ago did this invitation go out? So if we're serious about making sure that we don't have a primary voice and a secondary voice, as Pastor put it, because we don't have primary and secondary contributions, why is this conference Critical Sustainable Literacies? Why is it not in the heart of our community? Why isn't it closer to our community? And why do we have this privilege? I feel very uncomfortable in this privileged seating I'm sitting here. It doesn't feel at home. It's not how we engage. So that's my response to you of what we're doing wrong.
Colleagues, I would like to indicate that we have about 2 minutes left, so perhaps one more question, and then we can end off.
Thanks. I just have a question, I suppose, about power and institutions. So Krishet is interested in critical university studies. And that idea there is that the institution has power and is structured according to power relations, right? I think in this discussion that we've had so far today, there's been a lot of talk about the university as the bearer of power. And my interest is, religion also has a lot of power. In fact, there was a time when most universities were Christian at a certain point in certain contexts. And that religion itself has a particular hold on knowledge in that it is making a very, very strong truth claim that would not hold up within the conventions of, say, standard academic practice, right? Not to say that academic institutions do not get things wrong, do not create their own dogmas, but that religion at its heart has a particular truth claim to make about knowledge and a certain claim on that. So I suppose what I'm wondering is, when we do these kinds of engagements and we think about work we're doing with communities, collaborations and so on, how do we unpack not only the power the university has, but also the power, say, a faith-based organization might have, and those things. Like, for example, I am comfortable to say Fiona. I feel very uncomfortable saying Jacobus to you, and I'm not even a religious person. So, yeah, that is my question. Thank you very much.
So pastors, but I think the question is about the power of religion. That's what you're asking. So you want me to answer? I think the religion is overrated. And I saw that with COVID, our churches were running empty. And in fact, what the Hope Revolution says is that church is where the people are, right? That in any space that becomes a space. So I don't deny that definitely religion brings with it a lot of power. But religion is driven by people. And where you have people, you will have power. Because people decide what to position at the forefront. So any institution can have power. Social work started on the back of religion that had served a certain minority group and for a long time, privileged a welfarist approach. So you can go to other professions, etc. So power is very much driven by people. And I think it takes the likes of the Jacobuses to debunk the power that is seated in religion. If I witness, or what I witness, when the Hope Revolution team comes together, there is equalized spaces given to different people. And although pastor is the pastor, he's not the first one to speak like we would think in traditional religion. And a lot of the power, I think, is also seated in our own minds and our own constructions, and we are responsible to deconstruct that so that we can co-construct a different type of reality for ourselves.
And just to add very quickly to that, in the space of the faith-based or religion, we don't necessarily have the power, but we have authority and influence. Because authority is something that will help us to make sure that we are not abusing or manipulating people, but we understand the seat or the position or office that we occupy. It is that seed that helps us to bring and to treat people equal, to look at somebody, when you look at somebody, that you would not see a commodity, but you see humanity. That you would not see the problem. For example, what we say, you would not see a drug addict, but you see a son. And the influence that we have, it is really to engage and invade a space where power would not have the authority to enter into. And we need to be always conscious of where we are as a religious institution or a religious person. I'm not here to present my power, but to help people to understand we carry an authority on behalf of the kingdom of God to help people to understand their values within the society where they live.
Thank you so much, colleagues. Thank you, everyone, for your discussion points, for your questions. We have a tea break until 11, right, Jenny? I just want to thank our speakers once again. I've heard all three speakers speak multiple times. Until 11:15, the tea break, yeah. So I've heard the speakers all speak multiple times, but it's always a massive shock to the system, always just a splash of cold water on the face, so a reality check for all of us. Thank you very much, and we'll see you for the next session.